2, 1.
Alright guys, this is a quick video on how to install Apache and PHP on your Raspberry Pi. Now I'm going to assume a couple things at this point. One is that you don't use the graphical user interface, you're more familiar with the command line, and that you already have a Raspbian or a Debian based operating system already installed on your Pi. Raspbian would be, I think, the best choice. Alright, so we're going to assume you're logged in at this point, and we're going to, first thing we're going to do, we're going to say this is a clean install of Raspbian. Nothing's been done or altered on it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to update the software. So we're going to do a sudo apt-get, and we're going to type update. So again, the command is sudo apt-get, apt short for aptitude, and then which is the package manager, and then get update. And we're going to let that work. So we're going to let it update any repositories that it needs to before we even start to attempt to install Apache or PHP. So we're going to sit here and let that complete. Now that it's been updated, we're going to go straight for installing the Apache 2 package. So we're going to utilize again the aptitude package manager, sudo apt-get install this time. The last command was update, now the command is install, and we're going to install package Apache 2. So we're going to get that going. Alright, it's going to ask if we want to install. After this, it's going to utilize 4 megs of additional disk space. Going to hit Y, hit enter. Going to go ahead and let it install. Now, one thing to keep in mind while it's installing is Apache 2 will be set up with the basic configuration defaults. Upon installation, it's set to already listen on port 80 for incoming HTTP requests. So it will be ready to go out of the box. Alright, and we have Apache 2 installed. Apache 2 is open source software that's available freely to download for web hosting. I'm going to install PHP, sudo apt-get install PHP 5, and while that's installing, I'm going to discuss what PHP 5 is. Alright, so what PHP is it is a server-side compiler, something that the clients don't have to have installed like JavaScript is client-side. PHP is server-side, basically meaning that if you want to utilize PHP code on your web pages, make them a little bit more dynamic on the back end. When I say server-side language, that means that any browser that comes to it will be able to get the benefit from the PHP code because it's compiled on the server and not the client's browser. This is different from JavaScript, where JavaScript has to be enabled on a browser in order to be able to run. Alright. Now PHP 5 is installed. Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and throw in a MySQL database. So I'm going to hit the up arrow to recall my last command, and we're going to install MySQL server and MySQL client. Now if you want to install more than one package at a time, you only need to put a space between the packages and then hit enter and let it roll. MySQL is a database. It's good to have because if you intend to write any sort of PHP applications, you want to store user data or anything, that's what a database was created for. You could store user information in text files, but it's not easy, it's not convenient, doesn't work out well. You want to use what the database was created for. Alright, so if you do decide to install MySQL database, you should know that it is going to ask you for a new password specific for your database, and you do not want to forget what it is. So I'm going to give it a password here, and it's going to ask me to repeat it, and then it is going to continue installing MySQL. Alright, now MySQL is installed. So I'm going to go back and check and make sure that my Apache instance is working, my PHP instance is working, and then my SQL instance is working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first figure out what the IP is for my box here. So I'm going to do a ifconfig, and I'll see my IP address. It is a private IP, 192.168.0.28. So I'm going to go to a browser and put that IP address in, because I am also on that local network, so I know I have access. Again, if you're dealing with firewalls or anything, that's a lesson for another day. Okay, so it says it works. This is the default web page for this server. This tells me that my instance of Apache on the Raspberry Pi is working, but I need to test to see if PHP is working. So what I'm going to do next is actually create a file of PHP code in that web directory and see if it can be read. If it can be read properly, then I know that the PHP instance is working. So I'm going to do a sudo. I'm going to use a program nano. Sudo is to elevate my privileges. var www is the website directory, and I'm going to create a file called php info.php. It's important that that file end in .php. Alright, so again, sudo nano var www php info.php, var www, whatever's inside that directory is your website. Alright, so I'm going to create a basic PHP code here. It's just a PHP info command to pull some of the PHP server settings and parameters. So I'm going to save that, and you'll see it's asking me what I want to save it to, php info.php, control X, Y, and then hit enter. Alright, so I've got that file saved, and then I'm going to go and see if it can read the PHP code. So again, IP address takes place of the var www. Everything after the slash is your website. That is where I save that file, so anything in that directory on that Linux server is accessible via the website. So I've put in the name of that file, php info.php. It's important that it end in .php. Hit enter, and lo and behold, the code is working. It interpreted that one line of code, and it gives me all of the server settings available and some of the parameters as well. So I know that it's interpreting the PHP code, so I know that the PHP installation was a success. Alright, so the last thing we're going to check is make sure our instance of MySQL server is running. So we're going to just send a simple command, MySQL TAC-U for user. The user is root, TAC-P for password, so that we'll be prompted to enter our password. I'm going to send that. It's going to prompt me for my password. I'm going to enter my password. This is going to be the password that I used when setting up the MySQL server on the installation. It's where it gave you that blue screen and then asked you to confirm. So I entered my password. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm in my MySQL database. Alright guys, I hope this video you found helpful as far as setting up Apache, checking Apache, setting up PHP and MySQL, and also testing your PHP, testing your MySQL as well. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe if you liked the video, and I'll talk to you later.